Look at this woman. She transformed herself from a simple graphics designer to a millionaire entrepreneur in just 10 years. This story fascinates me because I used to do freelance gigs myself. In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can achieve the same level of success. I went through her story and made an actionable list of 4 things that she has done to achieve this level of success. This list is so simple that anybody can follow them. Point number 1 is the most important one, without which you can never be an entrepreneur. And point number 4 is an uncommon advice that you will never find in the internet. So as we go through them one by one, take notes of which one you are already following and which ones you are yet to follow. I'm going to start with point number 2, because this is where most entrepreneurs get it wrong. Now, before we get into that, let me give you a proper introduction of this lovely lady. Her name is Melanie Perkins, who used to be a graphics designer before and is now the CEO and co-founder of Canva, which now has a net worth of 26 billion US dollars. Canva is a free online design tool which many of us love using because it's so easy to use and easy to collaborate with others. Even I used Canva to design the thumbnail for this video. Right now, Canva is competing with Microsoft and Adobe with a user base of over 30 million, out of which 150,000 of them are paid users. And the point number 2 that I'm going to explain right now is going to help you understand how they were able to achieve such a massive user base. The first thing they did was micro-test their idea. You see, long before Canva started officially, Melanie Perkins tested her idea in a small scale at a low cost. She and her husband, who used to be her boyfriend at that time, set up a small office in her mother's living room and started a project called Fusion Books. Fusion Book is a website that allowed high school students to collaborate and design their yearbook. It was a massive success, and that's where she got the confidence to build her own startup. So if you have a great idea, don't keep it lying around until it's dead. Find out how you can implement it in a small scale to test the response of the market. Even if you fail, the experience is invaluable because the best experience comes from the most difficult situations. Which brings us to our next point. Stepping out of your comfort zone. Now, this is not some vague motivational advice. I'm actually going to share with you what Melanie Perkins did to attract her first investor. Remember, she was a graphics designer and knew nothing about getting investors to invest in her idea, right?
When you don't have any connections, you don't have any network, you just kind of had to wedge your foot in the door and then just wiggle it all the way through.
She faced more than 100 rejections when she first arrived in Silicon Valley. And then magically, this man named Ty appeared, who invited her in this awesome retreat where big shot Silicon Valley investors hang out and go for kite surfing. Once again, she did not know anything about kite surfing, and so she made a complete fool of herself in front of these important people. But she didn't give up. Eventually, she learned the skill and was able to impress a few investors. Finally, she got her first investment. It was given by an investor who believed in her ability to overcome challenges. You see, if she didn't struggle and thrive in front of them, then they wouldn't have believed in her ability. She was able to turn a problem into an opportunity. Now, this is the most important thing for an entrepreneur, and we'll talk more about this later. But for now, understand this lesson. Most entrepreneurs confuse their passion with their likes and dislikes. You see, to pursue your dreams, sometimes you have to be willing to do things that you dislike. Unless you're willing to make a sacrifice for the cause, then you're not really passionate about it. If you enjoyed this video so far, then share it with your friends because it's really important to connect with like-minded people if you ever want to become a businessman. You probably noticed that I left out point number 1, and I did it intentionally because you need to understand that it's impossible to become an entrepreneur without this. That is, turning problems into opportunities. But there is a catch here which I'm going to explain later. For now, let's understand how Melanie Perkins turned a problem into an opportunity. As a 19-year-old university student in Australia, she used to teach graphics designing to make some extra money. She noticed that it was so difficult for students to learn because the platform which was offered by Microsoft and Adobe were so complicated.
You would have to spend an entire semester learning where the buttons were, and that seemed completely ridiculous, and thought that in the future it was all going to be online and collaborative and much, much simpler than these really hard tools.
It was during that time that she was struck by this billion-dollar idea. She wanted to make the design tools accessible to everyone by creating easy-to-use templates and have collaborative features. And because she had the skills, eventually she was able to start Fusion Books. which we had already discussed before. Now there is a catch here which you need to understand. Even though every problem has the potential to turn into an opportunity, you have to select the problem that you are most suited to solve. And it can be any problem, that's okay. But you can only solve the problem from its roots. The deeper you go to the root of the problem, the better you'll be able to solve it. And the more your company has the chance to succeed. But to reach to the root of the problem, you need skills. So pick the problem you want to solve very, very wisely. Since this is a very crucial part of becoming an entrepreneur, I'm planning to create more videos about how entrepreneurs turn problems into opportunities. So consider subscribing to this channel if these are the things that interest you. And also because the subscription button is free for you, but it's very, very valuable to me. So thank you. If you have been listening to my words well, then I can assure you, you already have the spirit of entrepreneurship, because all entrepreneurs are good listeners. Which brings us to our next point, finding and listening to the right advisors. You see, in Silicon Valley, Melanie found her tech advisor, Lars Rasmussen, who's also a co-founder of Google Maps. So he has a lot of knowledge and experience in the startup ecosystem. He suggested her to work with Cameron Adams, who later became their tech co-founder. Melanie might be a great graphics designer, but she does not have a lot of knowledge in technology. You see, it's not possible for a single person to learn and understand everything. And that's why we need mentors and advisors to guide us through things which we lack experience in. But selecting the right advisor for yourself is also very important. Make sure you check their credentials and research very well about them. There are fake gurus everywhere these days, and they're very good at convincing you to purchase their products, which absolutely gives you no value later on. So be very careful about this one, because the wrong advisor can waste very valuable time of your career. If you enjoyed this video, then you're going to love the next one.